If you can't do the overhead press because it doesn't feel good for your body, you have lower back limitations, or it just doesn't feel that great for your shoulders, which it does for many people, you have nothing to worry about if you want to get wider shoulders. And truth be told, I probably wouldn't be doing this exercise if I was trying to get wider shoulders anyway. This is a strength exercise. I don't look at it as a hypertrophy exercise to get wider shoulders, although it can happen. In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 exercises that really do focus on giving you that wider shoulder V-taper look. Before we jump into the 5 exercises, we have to do a little bit of anatomy. The shoulder is basically broken down into 3 departments. The anterior deltoid, which is the front of the shoulder. This is mainly worked in overhead presses, and it even gets worked when we train our chest because they can't help but get involved in things like dumbbell chest presses, barbell bench presses. The second department of the deltoid is the medial deltoid, and that is basically the side of the shoulder which we work when we do lateral raises. And the third department is the rear deltoid, and that is, as known by the name, back of your shoulders. They kind of look like golf balls when you bring your arms back and up to do a low bar back squat. And if your focus is to get wider shoulders, we have to do exercises that hit the medial deltoid, which is a ton of lateral raises, which I'll be taking you through today. We're starting off with my favorite, which I don't see anyone doing in the gym. It's the behind the back cable lateral raise. We want to set up the cables around our knee to hip height, and then we want to crisscross the cables at the back to create an X. Now with our arms behind our body, if we were to stand in line with the cable, I like to take one big step away. And then what we do is we start on the outside of our glutes. We don't start all the way back here. And the thing that I love about this exercise is it targets the lengthened position, which is where the muscle is stretched out, like with my arms toward the back. That's where it's the hardest. So the resistance profile is different to any other lateral raise that you can do, especially with dumbbells. So here, from this position, basically, we're going to do a lateral raise up to the height of our eyebrows and then come down from here. So it's hardest at the bottom, and then as we get to the top, it gets easier, which is the exact opposite of the dumbbell lateral raise, where it's hardest at the top and easiest at the bottom. So I love this because it's unique. And when you first try it, you can get a lot of early gains with it because your shoulders have never seen an exercise like this before. Oh. And down there. Side note, a killer superset to do is 6 to 8 reps of this straight into the dumbbell lateral raise for 10 to 12 reps. Absolutely burns. The seated dumbbell lateral raise is my favorite lateral raise variation because I feel more stable when I'm seated, and this is how I do it. I sit right on the edge and I push into the ground with my toes and my heels are off the ground. And then I lean slightly forward and I can kind of push into the floor and I get this artificial leg drive. So the lateral raise is basically the same. We're still doing a lateral raise up to the height of our eyebrows, controlling it on the way down, but I'm pushing into the floor, which makes me feel really strong. So I can actually get the most weight in my lateral raises with this technique, and that's about 12.5 kilos. You do have to be aware. It is quite easy to kind of swing back and forward though when you do this. So when you are, try to make a conscious effort to lean slightly forward so that if you do lean back a little bit, you just come to upright instead of being all the way back like that. Coming back to the cables for the single arm cable lateral raise, this is going to make it once again harder in the lengthened position or the bottom position of the rep where the medial deltoid is being stretched, as opposed to with the seated dumbbell lateral raise that we just did. When we get to the top, it's the hardest where our medial deltoid is in the shortened position or it's flexing. So I like this because we can pull it out, so we keep the cable at about knee to hip height. I like to put my hands on my hips to give me a bit of something to push into, and then I start just on the outside of my body. I don't really like to come across here because most people will bend their arm, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep it still 90 to 95% straight. So we take a bit of a step out, so there's always tension on the muscle, and then from here, we do the same as we've previously done. We go up to the eyebrows. And we want to come slightly in front of our body. And the benefit of training unilaterally or with one arm at a time is that we can actually give more effort to one muscle. So in some instances, it can actually potentially create more hypertrophy because you get to give all your effort and attention to that one muscle. Previously, I used to do this behind the back and stand up front and go like this, which feels okay for me, but I found that it kind of bothered my shoulder slightly, and when I gave it to clients behind the back, they also felt a similar thing. So try it out, see what works best for you, but I now prefer it slightly in front of the body. On to the next lateral raise. I'm going to categorize this next lateral raise as a different exercise, but it's pretty much the same as any other lateral raise you do with dumbbells, but the intent is different. If I was to write this on a piece of paper for the tempo, I would write 30x0. What the hell is an X? Explosive. That's what it stands for. And when we do the lateral raise explosively at the bottom, instead of just lifting with a 1 second tempo, we basically accelerate as quick as we can. Because of that acceleration, we're actually trying to make it hardest at the bottom because you're traveling so fast and moving with power. And that makes it harder at the bottom, which is the lengthened position, which is what we're trying to get because it's really good for hypertrophy. That doesn't mean that the shortened position, if an exercise is hardest in the shortened position, it's not efficacious or it's not worth it. It's still a great option, but this is just to give variety when you're training shoulders to help get a better stimulus and build muscle and wider shoulders, which is why we're in the gym, mate. So we come here, and instead of just coming up like this and focusing, I actually want to really give it some. And I like to liken it to kind of being like a rocket. It has to use all the boosters. I don't really know how rockets work, but it has to use like all the boosters, all the fuel to get out of the atmosphere, and then once it's out of the atmosphere, it just cruises. It's kind of the same with this exercise. You give it heaps, and then once you kind of get to around halfway or even like a quarter, you just kind of cruise because of the momentum that you've created out of the bottom by exploding. Lastly, the seated dumbbell overhead press. Obviously, this isn't a lateral raise because if it was 25 kilos and I was doing that, my shoulders would be too big for the camera. Now, I like this exercise just for bigger shoulders in general because I think it's better than the seated barbell overhead press because you can get more range of motion, so you can maintain that mobility in the shoulder. It also can help you to be stronger, which can have slight crossover into the lateral raise. Now, I like to set up the dumbbells a pretty unique way. Instead of just trying to use my knees from here, I actually sit all the way forward. And when I'm here, I then lean back and do one at a time, and then I scoop my butt back. So let me show you how I do it. I come here, and then I come here, and then I move my butt back, and this is my position. Now from here, my dumbbells are touching the shoulder, that's my bottom range of motion. And then I push all the way top. I push up and in, because when I push up, I'm slightly outside, and then as I come down here, I'm getting full range of motion. Now, if I go too low, it's really hard, and it feels like it's gonna fall forward. And if I'm doing something like a 40 kilo dumbbell, which I'm doing at the moment for 8 to 9 reps, then that's going to be too hard to do. So what you want to do is actually just tap the shoulders, just like a barbell touches the bench for a bench press, and that's your bottom range of motion. We come up and push. The dumbbells feel good for me at a 30 to 45 degree angle pointing forwards. But I don't like a fully pronated grip because that's what we do with the seated barbell overhead press. Now lastly, a lot of people think you need a flat back when you're doing this. That's not true. If you want to be your strongest self when you're pressing, you want shoulder blades back and down, scapula retracted and depressed. That's going to put you in a stronger position to press than it does being flat like a pancake. These are the 5 most popular exercises that I'm currently doing to get wider shoulders. If you enjoyed this video, then you can check out a video here. That's going to be another one that you're going to love watching around training. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe or leave a comment on what you want to see next. Cheers. Quick aside, I forgot to mention that when you're lifting lateral raises, you don't want to do it directly out the side. You actually want to do it 30 degrees in front of the body, which is going to be in the scapular plane.